Tiny towns. I'm trying to go on. I did not work. No. So. Heard something out
Something distracting.
there. Something was happening.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Board of Trustees regular meeting. It is August 11th, 2026. Can I get a motion to open the meeting? Trustee Gupta, second. Deputy Mayor Galen, all in favor. All right, roll call.
Mayor and Board, as your name is called, please state present if you're in attendance this evening. Trustee Asuma,
Present.
Trustee Gupta,
Present.
Trustee Patino,
Present.
Trustee Rosenberg. Okay, it's noted that Trustee Rosenberg is absent this evening. Trustee Rothrock. It is also noted that Trustee Rothrock is absent this evening. Deputy Mayor Galen
Present.
and Mayor No.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum of members present this evening.
All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before you take a seat, a longtime member of our community passed away this weekend, Joseph Michael Marin. He was a member of the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department until his passing over 50 years. He served as the first and second assistant chief in the department from 2003 to 2007, before rising to chief from 2007 to 2009. We're thinking about his family, many of whom volunteer and work for the village. And so please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. We are going to start with a proclamation for someone who has helped lead me through volunteering with this village since I started 10 years ago, I guess. I joined the nominating committee and Paula McCarthy was the chair, and she welcomed me there and has been cheering me on and making me feel like a part of the longer history of Dobbs Ferry this whole time that I've been here. I know I'm a newbie at 15 years, having lived here. She would tell the story every single meeting to everyone who comes in that she was born here and has lived here her entire life. And so I have a proclamation to honor you for your service as you move on to bigger and better things. Please join me over here, Miss Paula McCarthy. Yay. Hold on, let's go over here. Nice. All right. Here's your proclamation, ready? Whereas the tradition and strength of a community is in direct relationship to the number of citizens who volunteer their time in service. And whereas Paula Ann McCarthy was born in Dobbs Ferry on January 21st, 1956. I'm sorry they put the date, but I mean, that's how long you've lived here. She attended Sacred Heart Grammar School, graduated from Dobbs Ferry High School in 1974, and completed her studies in secretarial sciences at Catherine Gibbs. And whereas Paula joined the Girl Scouts in second grade, and she achieved the rank of first class by her senior year and received the Daughters of the American Revolution Award for Outstanding Citizenship. And whereas Paula volunteered as a candy striper at Dobbs Ferry Hospital from 1971 to 1974. And whereas in 1973, Paula was the first runner-up in Dobbs Ferry's Centennial Miss Dobbs Ferry pageant. Oh, bring that back. And whereas Paula worked at the Alcott School in Dobbs Ferry for 21 years, serving as an administrative assistant and building manager. And whereas Paula's unwavering commitment to Our Lady of Pompeii Church is evident through her extensive involvement as chair of the annual spaghetti dinner, service on the parish council, service on the altar guild, co-founding a youth group at Our Lady of Pompeii Church, which expanded to become part of the Catholic Youth Organization, Teenage Federation, and ongoing roles in various church activities. And whereas influenced by her parents, Angela and Paul Quigley, Paula holds a special place in her heart for the American Legion. Paula's dedication to the American Legion spans over 35 years, where she served as the Children and Youth Chairperson, Westchester County Chaplain, as well as supporting Dobbs Ferry American Legion Post number 1048. And whereas Paula has been a member of the Village's nominating committee since 2015, having served as chair of the committee from 2017 to 2022. And whereas Paula represented Dobbs Ferry as an aide to the Grand Marshal in the 2023 St. Patrick's Day Parade. And therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the Village Board of Trustees and the entire community, I acknowledge with gratitude the contribution that Paula has made to the citizens of Dobbs Ferry and wish her and her family well for all the days in the future. And be it further resolved that through the authority of my office, I do hereby proclaim Wednesday, August 12th, 2026 as Paula McCarthy Day in the Village of Dobbs Ferry. And directly the proclamation be carried throughout the village for people of Woodville to see and know.
Down tomorrow night for the Legion meeting. Thursday. Thank you, thank you, everyone. What can I say about Dobbs Ferry? This was a difficult decision for us, but it's time now to spend some more time with my children and my grandchildren. Dobbs Ferry will always hold a very special place in my heart, and I will still be involved, just not at the village level, but more still with the American Legion and with Our Lady Pompeii Church. So thank you, and this was a wonderful honor. Thank you, thank you.
You want a picture with anything?
Sure, Tom, I'm here. Richard, Mark.
Come. We're gonna do a picture up here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, very much.
Voila.
Mwah.
Family, come over.
Hi, Mark.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
You still be home, people? All right, I'll put it in. 25, yes, sir.
Mhm.
All right. Our second presentation of 6 tonight is 41 Cedar Street, Cedar Commons, proposed amendments to previously approved plans. We have Christina Griffin here, right? Oh, there she is. So this comes to us because it's under our purview, being in the downtown in that district. Everybody can see the building has made a ton of progress and seems to be nearing completion. So these are coming our way as small amendments, the end of the project. And Christina will tell us more. And that noise.
Because your approvals are usually tied specifically to the sheets of the plans that are presented, and they're listed right in your resolution. So that's why they're coming back, because if they make a change on one of the sheets, they have to return for an amended.
Good evening. I'm Christina Griffin. I'm a principal of CGA Studio, and I'm here with Cosmo Marfiono. He is the president of BCBDC Group, the developer for the project. I'm going to take you through some of the changes that we made since the project was approved by the BOT in 2020. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Yay.
Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, these are the drawings that we have had updated since we started construction, actually. And I wanted to show you, this is the elevation that you see along Cedar Street. And this is the original.
Christina, can you make sure you're going in the microphone again?
Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
is the original elevation that was approved by the BOT in September 8th, 2020. After that point, we made a few revisions and this drawing is just showing some of the minor revisions what we made in order to meet code for the requirement for the elevator that went to the rooftop, and also code for having the stair have a different configuration than we had before we went to into the construction drawing phase. And the blue line is actually the design that was approved by the BOT in 2020. And then the other lines above that are showing the elevator and then the stair bulkhead next to it. The elevator was raised 5 feet 7 above the BOT approval because we went to an elevator that was needed for a 4-story building, and
Christina, one more time, sorry.
after,
Yeah, there we go.
and this is the height that was required to get the clearances above the elevator. We also have a different shape, different configuration for the stair bulkhead, but the bulkheads actually are just a very tiny amount larger than the original. It was 44 square feet in total. We added this screen to the left. We have a panel screen that is going to conceal the HVAC units on the roof. Uh, Other changes that we made are, we're changed the stucco to a artisan cement board at the fourth floor and the bulkheads. And that's really because we felt it was a nicer material than smooth stucco with a nice texture for residents to see when they're on the roof deck. Uh, On the west elevation, thank you. On the west elevation, we have, this is the original elevation of the west elevation. And then on the next drawing, I'm going to show you the changes that were made. Just trying to get used to being here, okay. All right. So this is the west elevation. This is facing the church property. And this is, these are the changes that we made. The blue is the original, and then you see the actual behind it. We just changed the shape of the stair. We had consolidated the two egress stairs into one stair on top of another, so that changed the shape slightly. We also have a mechanical vent here that we located behind the elevator to make sure it wouldn't be visible from the street. We put the siding, the artisan siding is shown on this elevation as well. This is the south elevation. This is the before it was approved. And this is excuse me. This is the south elevation we have today, showing the blue that was before and the change after. The height of the bulkhead increased by 1 foot 5 inches, and that's because we had to, when we went into our construction drawings, we had a thicker roof condition, and we had to make sure we met the handicap code for accessibility from the bulkhead. We also added a handicap bath on the roof level. And this down below, you see a screen. We are using a screen that is similar to this, but not as tall, only 46 inches tall, to screen the HVAC units that are up on the roof. And that's to the right of here. Want to make sure that the condenser units are not seen from any neighboring properties. This is the east elevation before. This is the east elevation after, showing the before in blue that was approved. And then behind it, you see the increased height in the bulkhead, the elevator enclosure, and the siding that we added. I also want to mention, in addition to these changes, we changed the garage at the front of the building. We recessed it 13 feet. We did this because it was more practical to get a larger space for a car to turn into that. That's the garage door you see there on the bottom left. It's recessed in 13 feet. It was not originally. And also on the front facade, we've made some aesthetic improvements. We enlarged the cornice. We added these lights between the second and third floor here on the pilasters. We increased the height of the arch with a higher brick detail. We added brick on the west elevation, brick sills, and we also changed the stucco in the back of the building to brick. And that is about the extent of the changes from the original BOT approved plans. I also have here, just for your information, photographs of the building. These were taken in June, and you can see the building with the new cornice here and different views as you walk around the building. There's been more progress since that date. And in every view, you can see the elevator above and the bulkhead, which is tucked behind the elevator. We do happen to have our updated zoning chart, and this is just to inform you that we have the same 16 units, 3 affordables, and all of these, the affordables meet the requirements for affordable housing floor area. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I would like to talk some more about the large increase in the elevator bulkhead. So I did, make the case at the time of the approval to raise parking up one level and give you one more level above grade as a tool and technique to expedite construction and minimize, disturbance to Cedar Street residents, because we were worried that you would have to do blasting and chipping in order to get down that far. So, obviously we didn't achieve the swiftness of completion, which we were hoping to get by that. But also we did increase the overall building height for that, in order to do that. And I'm sort of surprised that, to see a 5.5 foot increase. And so I'm really curious to understand why and how you got there. Elevators are a kind of primary driver of bulkhead height, and you worked that out early on, and we assumed you had. And so I'd like to know if you changed specifications and why, and what, like what options are there for revisiting that? Because that's a big difference. We can work with inches. Sometimes we can push it farther than that, but when we start to look at 5.5 feet, that's a big change.
We had looked at many companies for elevators. And I think what happened is when we switched from 3-story to 4, you're in a different category and you have a bigger elevator that needs a stretcher. And we looked at the clearances that are needed, and we were just underestimated the height, and plus, for this size building and to meet the code, we needed this type of elevator that needed the clearance on top. We did submit this with our building permit drawings. It was something that's been on the drawings since we submitted that. So, I don't know if it was something that we didn't clearly flag on our drawings to come back to you, but we did work hard to find anything that would be really as low as possible. It's hard to believe, but we can show you the different options that we looked at in order to make this decision.
And there's no other way now.
I think Cosmo was very much involved in the whole process, and maybe you could speak about that.
Mhm.
I mean, there is no benefit. Cosmo Marfione, BDC. There is no benefit for us to have a higher elevator bulkhead. I mean,
That's neither.
right? There's like, it costs more stone, more stucco. And we looked at traction elevators. This is a traction elevator. It's not a hydraulic. We looked at all different scenarios. We didn't even go with a tall elevator because I wanted even a taller, like 9 feet cab. I think this one is 8 feet on the inside, 8'6".
We went with the lower.
We went with the lower elevator, which was right, which was something I did not want to do because I was worried about furniture being put in the elevator. But this is where we're at today. If there was a solution to get that lower, we would have done it, right? But we're trying to hide it the best we can, maybe, I don't know what we can do up there to hide it, but if you look at the drawings, I mean, if you look at the photos, it's not very, like, you're not gonna really see the 5 feet. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it's not terribly. I mean, I don't know if you have any suggestions that you want us to explore, we can. But
Wouldn't know where to start to give suggestions.
I mean, we went through all the big Otis, Schindler was the best one that gave us the best, like, height requirement. Um,
So, sorry, just to clarify, Christina, you're saying that this 5-foot delta over the approved BOT drawings
Right.
from what year?
2020.
2020. When was that submission, when was that added to the drawings?
When we did our construction drawings, which is, we started them a few months after the approval. And, we usually wait till we get approval, so we know we can spend the time on doing final drawings. And that's when we start developing all the details. And there usually are some changes. I think that we were losing too low a height to begin with. So once we finally got into all the details of the elevator, we found out we needed more height there.
Yeah, I guess that's my concern is, I had already, like, I had voted against it in the first place because of the height. And because it's exceeding the height in the code and I was the only one, so I move on from that, but going 5 feet above a height like Trustee Patino saying, I just want to track, and we don't have Dan here to ask as to, like, it seems now like we're just coming in at the end when we would be holding up the completion of the project that has been going on for 5 years, 6 years. And the drawings have been in our building department with the height being 5 feet over, and it's just now coming to us is, I think, probably a general issue that we would have, but it don't feel like that's, I feel like that's internal and not, that's something we should have had to discuss, when they were submitted as not the plans that were approved. So,
I'm not thrilled with the precedent this is setting.
right, I mean, that's the issue,
You know-
the whole time has been like, when you go above what's in the code,
This is
why are
like
you
an
doing
adult,
it?
this is an adult human
sorry.
size miss.
John Stone is actually on the webinar if you,
Ooh, yay. Speak to us,
Joining us.
Mr. Stone from the building department. Can you tell us how this would have, what the process was to get us here and what we should be considering?
Sure. So the plans for the construction were sent out to be reviewed to ICC, which Cosmo and CGA were well aware of.
What's
And
ICC, just for everybody?
IC International Code Council. They review plans and write our codes.
Got it.
So they were reviewed by ICC and it went back and forth several times with ICC saying these are the changes that need to meet code, yada, yada, back and forth. And with those submissions from CGA, the changes were bubbled. And ICC finally, I think the third round into it, said, okay, we're good. The building's built to code. The increase in that height for the elevator was never bubbled from CGA. So Dan and I, relying on ICC to do the code compliance, didn't know that ICC didn't pick up a 5-foot increase in the elevator shaft. So when Dan and I went out to do the first inspection of the masonry and the bulkhead, that's when we realized it was much higher than the plans. And it's been in the works to come back to you guys for reapproval, but there were several holdups in that process. So here we are.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't have the timeline in front of me, but the elevator core was up how long ago? 2 years ago? Like what? John, do you know, you mentioned that you went out and looked at masonry, you inspected, you called out, you flagged a potential problem with the height. How long ago was that?
With the
I just want to
bulkhead
know how
height,
long this has been
maybe
kicking around.
about 6 months.
Okay. All right. Something.
Okay.
All
Can
the
I-
other details, I mean, just want to give space to everything else that's in there and whether or not Trustee Patino is former chair of the AHRB, and so, you know, I would like to hear your point of view on any of the other details as to whether or not there's something we should be considering, or also I want to gauge whether this should be going to the planning board AHRB and
so-
referring
yeah.
to them
And-
from us for
and
those
if you-
details, because that's my general preference is to have them, like, when it goes to the height, that's where I have an opinion,
Right.
but to the details in the architectural review board part, like, I'd rather they have the say in that, but
Yeah,
if they're minor enough and you think that, then I'm willing to consider that.
well,
too.
I agree. I think they should go to planning HRB. But you know, there were some items, I'll just go through a list. There were items listed in the letter that I couldn't quite decipher from the drawings, what the difference was. And so maybe I can just raise those issues. Maybe you can clarify them. Ultimately, they may be planning board AHRB questions. But you said you modified the rooftop mechanical enclosure fence,
Yes.
and in what way?
Okay.
How did that change? I don't know, maybe that's you have maybe at this point you have photographs, and you can compare that to your renderings or whatever's easiest.
I have the plan of the roof deck to show you, and the line that you see in red, we want to have an opaque.
Can you point out like where Cedar Street is in this plan? I can't quite
Yes,
make that
Cedar
out.
Street is on the bottom of the
Okay.
drawing, on the bottom. And this corner here, in the back rear corner is where we're planning to put a solid panel, or more like a mostly solid, something like that, to make sure that it's the red line that goes around the corner there. You see the units? So this whole area is going to be storage and units, so we want to conceal that from view, and that's the back corner. That's the,
Yeah, you gotta use microphone, I'm sorry.
okay, the back corner of the building that you see with the red line. That red line is going to be a screen so that we can conceal the view of the condenser units that are on the roof. All the other lines around the roof deck will be railing, open railing.
And that wasn't there in the previous, it was just going to be a view of the condenser units.
Yes, it's something we thought
Yeah, that's-
we should do.
And that's like the primary view from the South Church side of the Oak Street side of the property that you would see is back.
Can I ask a question? If John Stone is still on, does this need a variance? A height variance?
The board has the right to waive
Okay,
that. So if it was approved, the board is essentially waiving the need for a variance.
Because there's probably no definition of how high the fourth floor can be, right? It's not even in the code.
Yeah.
Do you have any,
We thought the height is still within the maximum height for the zone.
that was my
But we'll-
question.
We
Well,
can,
but there are permitted obstructions for the height. So when you talk about the overall building height, you define it as a certain relationship to roof, depending on the shape of the roof. Like certain things, mechanical equipment, bulkheads are depending on the size and configuration of the bulkhead, could be excluded from that height
Correct.
determination. So if the, parapet height is what we approved, then technically the building height is the same, even though this bulkhead is 5.5 feet up. So it's a slightly different, like, I don't think it would go to variance, but I'm not, you can't. Oh, I'm sorry. It's my turn to not speak into the mic.
Thank you. So
Do I need
since,
to repeat any of that? or-
since the parapet wall has not, height of the parapet wall hasn't increased.
I mean, I don't know that for certain. I think that's what I just heard.
Okay.
There's no change to the building height,
No,
parapet
Not
height
to
or
the,
railing height or roof height.
main
Okay.
top of the building.
That zoning chart isn't in our packet, so that's why I'm asking. You know, the one you showed, the last page
Yes.
that you show with the zoning table?
Yes,
That's not in here.
So I'll just keep going down my list. You noted that the bulkhead, the stair bulkhead also increased by 1.5 feet or so. That you said is related to head clearance and an ADA.
Yes.
Like so what was the previous clearance inside the stair bulkhead and did your roof level change? And so
Yes.
that's why the
the
entire.
thickness,
No?
in order to get, the decking on the roof, increase the thickness. And, once we finally get our approval, we go into all those details to make sure the building works. So we were found that it was necessary to increase the height just so that we could get the door level with the deck. So it made ADA.
What's the height inside the bulkhead, the stair bulkhead? Like, what's the ceiling height inside there? Is it do you have a skylight and then you need a thicker roof assembly? Like, is there some other factor driving it that you can mitigate with a
No,
design
we-
change that
We have it at 8 feet. We have it, it's not as high as all the other floors.
you did mention sconce fixtures along the second floor.
Yes, on the exterior.
I read so many dark sky regulations, so I can't remember Dobbs Ferry, but many of them have a limit as to how high you can put a fixture. Are you below that height level?
Well, Karen, the project architect, had looked into it, and we'll make sure we're going to check that, but she believes they are dark sky compliant, and they wouldn't be lit going up, just down.
Yeah, even if they are like not breaking horizontal plane, and I can't remember if John's on, he remembers this off the top of his head. Sometimes it's 12 feet or 14
Mhm.
feet that, you're still, unless it's inside of a eave or something, we generally don't have this, but because they do.
Dan and I checked the compliance for those lights, and they are compliant for a commercial property.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
commercial height is different than
No,
residential height.
no. And then I just do want to bring this other question up because at the time of the approval,
Yeah.
we heard a lot from
Mhm.
traffic committee, but also from neighbors on Cedar Street about the the curb cut and, passing through there. So if I understand correctly, the only difference is the plane of the garage door has moved back, but otherwise the opening is the same and the techniques for allowing drivers to have visibility of the sidewalk and vice versa, pedestrians to see what's going on. Is anything else different about that?
No, it's to really just to give a little more room for a car. And we felt that on site that it should be improved and have more distance in front of the door.
So it's just, so now you have a kind of refuge space, or for lack of, like, that is deep enough for one car to sit between the plane of the building and the garage door, so they're not out on the sidewalk? Like, explain to me why that's useful or valuable or better than when we looked at 6
Mhm.
years ago.
I might have to follow up on that just to give you the details you need. I was focused more on the elevations,
Sure.
but I can follow up on that.
But that was
Yeah.
a big component of community input, and
Right.
I think we need to be convinced that it is at least as good, if not better, than what we
Sure.
approved at the time.
Mhm. But in general, is there do you guys feel that that we have what we need to make a decision tonight? Or do you want to move this to the planning board and AHRB for them to give a recommendation to us? Anyone?
You have the authority to delegate the HRB to the planning board if that's.
We're gonna do.
And could we delegate it so that they just make the decision and then it's done, or does it have to go to them and then back to us?
No, it doesn't have to
in
come
2
back to you if
meetings?
you truly delegate it. If
Okay.
you refer it
Well, I
for
would
their
be-
comments, then it comes back and you approve it.
I don't want to delay it, anymore, but I personally want them to opine on it.
You
Like
know,
defaulting to you a bit on
I've
this.
argued that the planning board should handle this kind of thing in general, like not our board. So I'm happy to delegate the continued discussion and, negotiation of these elements, and I'll pass along our thoughts and comments to the planning board. They will probably have the same ones,
Yeah.
but they'll hear that from us and we
Right.
can let them.
Yes.
And I would just request, also if you have some renderings of how that increased 5.7 or whatever it is will appear from Cedar Street, both like, I guess from across Cedar Street to someone walking by, because that's not here, right?
In addition to the photographs,
Well, the,
Those don't show.
we can give you,
Oh,
we
right,
can
it's
take
built
more.
now.
We can take more.
It's built.
Sure.
well, the,
Maybe just like a key plan. See it. So like showing where those photos are taken, just to help people orient.
I can
do
themselves.
so this bulkhead that's in the photograph from 2 months ago,
Mhm.
is that that's a completed structure? Or does it go up even from there?
No, that's the completed structure.
So, yeah, that's
It's done.
right. So I guess, and maybe this is a question for another forum, but I don't quite understand what happens if the planning board,
They can't close unless we approve it. So if we require them to change it, that would be what happens.
got it.
But I think in general, the precedence also here is we, as a board, prefer not to approve after something's constructed if it's not what we approved in the plans. And this is not the first time this has happened with a significant project in our downtown. And that's what is a problem for me personally, because it happened on the corner of Ashford and Broadway. That was, I don't know, somehow taller than it was supposed to be, but then it was finished. And so what are we supposed to do? Just tell them to shrink it? It's just not
Process.
a great process. So, but I don't think that's not all on the applicants. It's, all of us need to be working toward that. So, but is there a motion
Wait,
to?
let me,
Yeah, you go.
here's the resolution.
Okay.
And I'll follow up in writing. It's section, it's always best to refer to the code section so it doesn't look like you're coming out of the blue. That's just my opinion. It's 300-17 and it is subsection, I'm sorry, 8. Whereas pursuant to the authority in 300-17 sub 8, the Board of Trustees has determined to defer the decision-making powers to the AHRB, the Planning Board, for the application for amendment to the approvals for 41 Cedar Street. Now therefore be it resolved. The Board of Trustees hereby makes that deferment and will send comments in addition to this resolution to the Planning Board serving as the AHRB.
Is there a motion? Deputy Mayor Galen? Trustee Patino, all in favor? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for your patience. And I think the building's looking great. So for the record, it looks fantastic.
Thank you,
And
thank
It's just like bigger picture precedent stuff that I get concerned with.
So this is a deferment, not a delegation, right?
No, this is, well, no,
It's, I use the
delegating.
word delegate in,
They're doing it.
I'm using the word defer, which is what you're doing. You're not
It's
referring
not gonna
it.
come back to us.
You're not
gonna
referring
do
it,
it.
you're actually deferring your decision-making
Okay.
to the planning board, in their
Perfect.
AHRB role.
Thank you.
So
Thank
get
you.
on their agenda. We'll send minutes with the comments to them, so they'll have it for their
Okay.
meeting.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you. And they probably will ask the same questions that were asked, so the clarifications would be helpful to make it a complete presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stone.
Okay. Number 3. All right, for presentation number 3, we'd like to recognize the library board appointment of Melanie Hamilton, librarian 2, by Director Eric Carlson. You guys are here, correct? So the Board of Trustees does not appoint the librarians at the library board appoints them, but we wanted to take this opportunity to introduce her to the public and to recognize this has happened, since our meetings tend to be more widely seen or understood or listened to or whatever. So welcome. Go, Eric.
I'll have to lean over. So Melanie Hamilton comes to us from Rhode Island, where she's worked at Middletown Library for 3 years now as the head of youth services and the president of her union. She started off in libraries in Long Island, worked in children's, teen, and adult services. She brings a lot of new ideas and new energy to the library and has already started looking into grants and things to get us more money. So we're very excited about moving the library in a new direction and seeing what types of new services and things that we can start providing to the community. So welcome, Melanie. I'm excited to have somebody working with me. It's been a long 6 months.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi.
Just want to say I'm very excited for this opportunity. I look forward to meeting all of you and improving library services for Dobbs Ferry residents and Westchester County residents. And I'm very excited and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Nice to meet you. All right. Mr. Truta, Treasurer's Report,
Yep.
you're up.
Okay. Give me 1 second here. Share my screen. So this is just really a high level overview of the transactions for the month of June 2026. Attached to the agenda on the village's website is the actual treasurer's report. So general fund year-to-date revenues through June are $17,972,354. That's just shy of 70% of budgeted. Year-to-date general fund expenditures are $1,680,844, or about 6.24% of budget. Year-to-date, all funds, $19,055,204, and year-to-date expenditures, all funds, $1,742,973. You take a look at the departmental spending at this point. June is 8.33% of the way through the year. Everyone looks to be tracking pretty close to that percentage. At the end of June, the general fund had $23,154,000 in it, and total cash was $27,425,000. And that's unless you have any questions.
Anything we should be worried about?
Not so far.
All right, great. Thank you for the update.
Yep.
So you're happy?
Jeff's happy with
As long as Jeff's happy.
Yeah, right.
All right, EV charging stations update. Ooh. Margaret. This is in relation to the EV charging stations that the county, in partnership with Con Edison, has funded the installation of within the village. It's been an ongoing process, getting the paperwork nailed down and the engineering of the stations designed. And that's what we're talking about. That's the backup.
Great, thank you, Mayor. I'll be providing
I
the
didn't
update. Oh,
start
yeah,
with
no.
this. This is Mike's first official, Mike Nepple is our village administrator. It's his first official meeting in the seat. But Paula, Paula
Thank
paid
you.
my attention.
I'm excited that this is the first item I'm speaking on at the board meeting. So this project predates me, obviously, but this is timely because it's now moving pretty quickly towards construction. So just wanted to provide an update to the board and the public about current status. So project timeline. Thanks, Margaret. This project began in 2023 when the village applied to Westchester County's Municipal Infrastructure Improvement Grant Program. The village board approved locations in 2025, and the plan was refined over time as sites were evaluated. Finalized locations are the waterfront lot at the train station with 22 charging ports and the village hall lot with 10. 32 ports in total, public level 2 charge point stations. The county agreement and construction contracts were executed in early 26. Engineering, Con Ed review, and permitting have now been completed. And later on tonight's agenda, the board will take up the fee structure for using the chargers. Quick note on the funding, roughly $537,000 is under contract. The project is structured to be net zero to the village. Con Edison's Power Ready program will fund the electrical infrastructure, and Westchester County's MI3 initiative reimburses the balance. On a point of transparency, because I'm unclear if this has been raised in a public meeting before, but this is a reimbursable program, and the reimbursements arrive at the end of the process after the stations are built, energized, and operating. So the village is going to pay contractor invoices along the way. So ensuring that we have enough cash flow to cover those invoices as we go is going to be important, obviously, and I'll be working with the village treasurer to make sure that that is facilitated. So INF Associates is our construction manager. And just on what residents will actually see as we proceed. INF has worked with multiple municipalities across the county on similar projects. Work starts at the waterfront lot here and then proceeds to Village Hall. It'll begin with trenching for the electrical conduit, about 2 weeks of civil work per site. The lots are going to remain open throughout, and the work is phased, so sections of parking closed temporarily behind construction fencing while the rest stays available. During trenching across the drive aisles and the High Street crossing, flaggers will direct traffic. Open trenches will be covered with steel road plates outside of work hours. Kayak rack access, which is in that location, will be maintained the entire time. The contractor actually delivered its estimated schedule today. Site work is estimated to begin on August 24th. With visible construction wrapping up in late September. After that, there is a Con Ed connection and energization phase running through October into early November. That part is on the utilities clock. So we anticipate at this point the chargers coming online in November, weather and utility scheduling permitting. And these are the contractor's estimates. I just want to put a fine point on that. So what remains before we go live? Tonight, the board will be considering 2 items related to this project. One is a simple housekeeping resolution to finalize the contractual locations, and also a resolution considering the proposed fee structure. On the staff side, my office is finalizing the construction schedule with the management firm, INF, and reviewing the traffic control plan with police, fire, and DPW. Then construction, Con Ed connection, activation on the charge point network to follow, with the chargers again going live, estimated in November. That's the update we have. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
I just want to make sure that the construction will happen in September and then nothing will happen until the Con Ed electrification happens. So they'll sit there not being able to be used and it'll be really irritating. And I just want to flag that. And that we're going to do our best to like communicate that you can still park there. Everything will be normal once I hope this is true, that they can still park there once they're installed and they don't have to be roped off for that entire 2 months. But I want to make sure that we communicate that, through whatever we need to do on the spots. Because I know, I've just been seeing them in Hastings sitting there doing nothing, and a lot of them are roped off, and I don't know why. And so I don't want to do that if we don't have to.
I don't want to speculate on, what's happening in other municipalities, but there are, paperwork and other programmatic issues that have to be stood up. And in talking with Westchester County and INF Associates, I think some municipalities may not have factored this additional paperwork processing time into bringing the chargers online. We're working very closely with INF to make sure all of this is sequenced and aligned in a way that it'll cause minimal disruption. And you'll see electrification and bringing them online as soon as possible.
Great. Anybody have any questions?
Just wanted to specify, so it's 10 and 22 ports, and each of those ports is 2 spots. Is that right?
It is 11 charging stations with 22 ports at the train station and
Oh, so
5
it's
charging
11,
stations.
22
Yes.
spots total.
Yes.
Okay. So just for the record, this is about half as many as we initially were planning to do.
It
Because
was like
we've
60 something
It was,
originally, right?
yeah, because we had
Predates
to,
me.
reduce along the way, which has all been done in this process. But in case anyone remembers the initial numbers above 60, now we're down to 32.
It also might be important to remind the public that these are going to be shared use parking spaces, not completely restricted to EV vehicles, because I know that's a concern in some of the other communities as well.
Yes, EV preferred, which means anyone can really park there, but we should all be nice and you let EV people park there if it seems like it's too crowded. It's very
We should
vague,
all
and
be
we're gonna see how
nice.
we can do as humans in this process. We should all be nice.
We should all be nice.
Period.
Kindness matters.
Number 6, the police department. Chief Guevara, would you like to
Dr.
come up? Thank you
Saunders.
so much for that update. I know that was, it's been a fun process.
Get free, something for. It's like the surplus parcel that we've been 7 years and it's facetious.
Welcome, chief.
Finally, figure out how to navigate out of here.
Oh, it might be fun.
Thank you.
Hi, Mayor, Board of Trustees. Thank you for this opportunity to present this year's annual report for the Dobbs Ferry Police Department. Before getting into any further, I just wanted to provide a brief overview of the organization to anybody who might not be familiar, as well as some of the residents that are gathered here. Currently, the Dobbs Ferry Police Department consists of 27 sworn officers, approximately 19 civilian employees. Our sworn personnel are distributed among command, patrol supervision, investigations, youth services, traffic enforcement, patrol operations. And then our civilian staff provide essential support through parking enforcement, crossing guards, administrative support, and other public safety functions. This organization structure provides a broad range of services that the department is able to provide to the village. So you can kind of see how our staff is set up. Besides myself, I have 3 lieutenants, 5 sergeants, 3 detectives, a youth officer, and then 14 patrol officers with a traffic enforcement unit. And then our civilian personnel are broken up across the parking enforcement, guards, police aid, police matron, administrative support. I do want to touch on some personnel changes that occurred this year. Specifically, I want to recognize Sergeant Vincenzo, or Enzo as we all know him, DePaula. He did retire earlier this year. He did 19 years with the Dobbs Ferry Police Department. Prior to that, he was a police officer with the New York City Police Department. He lifelong resident of Dobbs Ferry as well. He is missed, and I just want to extend our sincere appreciation to him for his dedicated service to the village, and we wish him continued success and good health in retirement and all his future endeavors. And as one door closes, another door opens. Shortly thereafter, in February, we were able to promote police officer Julius Darvianic to the rank of sergeant. He earned this promotion through his performance and leadership, and we're excited to have him serving in a supervisory capacity. He additionally had served as a police officer with the NYPD before he came to us. After that, in June, some of you may recall, we were able to hire 2 additional police officers. Police Officer Alessia Shimia, Police Officer Chelsea Collins were both hired in the June board meeting. They are currently attending the Westchester County Police Academy, and we have an anticipated graduation just before the end of the year, at which point they'll come back. They will go into field training in the new year, and once they've completed that successfully, they will then be placed into a squad for solo patrol. And then the department will be back to, we are full staff, but we'll have full staff patrolling in the village. So we just kind of dive into calls for service, and I was kind of curious. I just wanted to take a look at what it is the Dobbs Ferry Police Department does, or what we do. So I was looking at calls for service over the last 3 years, just to kind of create a baseline, so we just have a little understanding moving forward. So I was looking at our calls for service for 25, 24, 23, as you can see those numbers respectively. And that averages to about 11,520 calls per year. Currently, as of just a few hours ago, we are a little over 7,000, a little over 7,100 calls for service. We have 273 criminal cases. We have 78 arrests, and we have 20 juvenile arrests for the year. So with that being said, not all calls are equal. Call counts, so the calls that we just highlighted, those just count the incidents. What they don't measure is workload. And I just want to say that at first glance, while 11,500 calls per year sounds like a straightforward statistic, However, not every call demands the same amount of police resources, whereas a motor vehicle lockout may take one officer 10 minutes. A domestic violence incident may require multiple officers for several hours. Both count as one call for service. But operationally, they are very different. And that's why I chose to kind of analyze workload rather than simply counting calls for this review. Something that we have not really done here this time around, I was very curious about how our emergency 911 affects our operations within the village. So, and again, as I went back over the last 3 years and I had to start culling through our records management system, isolating every single E911 call that we had. Then I had to look at the assigned officers and I had to figure out the workload and start putting that together into a chart. So of all the thousands of calls that we document a year, this is the first time I've actually, as I was going through this, I was, fortunately, our 911 system just represents just over about 8% of all documented calls for service during the past 3 years. While emergency incidents and significant casework are also received, this isn't saying that all of our emergency calls just come through 911. We still have residents who are familiar with their 5500 line, so they will just call the main line. So we may have emergencies that come through the 5500 as well. Sometimes we may have somebody just, if it's right on Main Street, may come into the lobby and report an incident that is occurring. But at the very least, this provided me the ability to really drill down in the 911 portion of our total calls. I did not break down the 5,500 calls and how that affects the manpower, but you can imagine that that would cascade into the overall picture. So what I did was I took this 3-year average, and what we did was I took a look, 2 representative months, February and August, and I averaged them over 3 years. February represents a typical winter month, while August captures our highest seasonal demand. We then measured workload by hour to determine the staffing needed to maintain what's called the 60% saturation index. We focused on the required staffing column. You can kind of see that in February, evening hours do require as many as 9 officers during peak periods. In August, peak demand increases even further, requiring up to 11 officers per busiest hour. So what's interesting about this, and again, this is just a representative and an average, again, 2 months. And what we did is I broke down a typical 24-hour day. And so you can actually see how 911 calls come into the village of Dobbs Ferry by hour. And by color, I banded, so the green would be representative of our 3 to 11 shift. Kind of the orange maybe is from the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift or midnight shift. And then the white is our day tours. And this is really more designed to kind of give you the understanding of how on a day-to-day and within the hour, how our calls for service do fluctuate. If there's any questions regards to like, what is the saturation index? That is designed to measure how busy patrol officers are and while they're available for calls for service. So we want to try to measure how much of the available patrol time is already committed to handling calls. So you can kind of see that on 3 to 11 in August at about 8 o'clock, your 3 to 11 officers just on the 911 calls alone to maintain a 60% saturation index theoretically within that hour. They're doing the work of 11 police officers. That's kind of, again, just so you can kind of wrap your head around what the police department is doing. And this, again, this is just representative of emergency 911 calls. It's not taking into account the walk-in complaints that we receive on a daily basis, our calls that come in through 5500, or even anything that comes across the hotline as a mutual aid from other agencies. This was a very tedious project that I undertook over several months because again, our records management system is dated, so I have to go into each individual blotter, pull that report, and then start documenting the time frame. So ultimately, looking at this, the analysis, and you can kind of see where our current deployable staff is on any given day is 2 police officers. And it's also important to understand that while 4 personnel are assigned to each patrol tour, only 2 officers are routinely available for geographic patrol. We have 2 sectors within the village, Adam and Baker. The 3rd officer is assigned to headquarters, who handles the phone calls and radio dispatch, and that 4th officer is the supervisor. You know, what I've seen is that our greatest staffing gap occurs between the 3 p.m. and 11 p.m. tour in the summertime. As far as looking ahead, I do believe that our focus remains on thoughtful, data-driven planning. Later this year, and I had brought this up at previous meetings, we will welcome the Division of Criminal Justice Services from New York State. They will be conducting an independent workload-based staffing assessment of the village. Additionally, we're going to continue modernizing our technology through the One Solution RMS project that we are trying to partner with the town of Greenberg, the village of Irvington, and the village of Ardsley to update our RMS system that had gone into life many years. And I still want to continue to monitor emergency technologies such as drones as first responders that do have the potential to enhance public safety. Also later in the year, CALIA will conduct their annual remote review of our department standards for the national accreditation that we hold. And then actually in other news, while it didn't make the slide, I heard yesterday morning, the FBI reached out to us, Lieutenant Travis Colvin, who had been nominated to attend the National Academy several years ago. They have slowly started working through the pipeline. They have notified him that he is tentatively scheduled to attend the Quantico National Academy in January.
Wow.
So he will be following in the footsteps that myself and Fire Chief George Longworth both attended. So once I have a finalized, they'll conduct, they have to do a background check and whatnot. I will pass all the information up to Mike to forward to you. But we're moving along in that front.
Amazing.
Great.
So again, while today's presentation focused on where we are, these initiatives hopefully will shape where we're going. Mayor, members of the board, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to provide this update on the police department. As I mentioned previously, the DCGS will be conducting an independent workload-based staffing assessment later this year. I do look forward to sharing those results with you when they become available. Thank you, and do you have any questions that I may be able to answer?
I've got a question. So you were looking into some of the emerging technologies. Is this as a way to kind of extend their stuff, like kind of hiring more officers, like extend the abilities, or?
I don't necessarily believe the technology will replace
Yeah, not
a police
replace.
officer. I'm looking to potentially enhance.
Enhance, that's the correct word, yeah.
And I just think it's important that we continue to have the conversation. You are starting to see, especially as our larger partners start bringing in robust programs, again, such as drones as a first responder. It may be something that will become applicable here, whether it is to free up a sector car, certainly for some calls, maybe it doesn't necessarily require the police officer initially to go on site. The technology now is becoming so that it can be tied into an RMS system. So as the officer is entering this information into the event blotter and dispatching or putting that out to the officer, I am seeing in some agencies where that drone is actually responding from the building and getting on scene before the officer gets on scene. So potentially maybe for some low priority calls might be something to be looking into where I can keep an officer in service longer than that, longer than just immediately assigning that call to that officer. And now he is moving his way to the other side of his sector to investigate that. And maybe it's gone on arrival before he even gets on scene or the condition was corrected. So theoretically, in that world, a drone might be applicable to say that desk officer can see on site and go, actually, you can cancel your response. The situation has been corrected. And so we want to try to maximize and be as efficient as possible in keeping these cars in service for some of these other things that we were talking about. By trying to keep the saturation index closer to that 60%, that builds in some free time for that officer to potentially do some proactive activity, i.e. doing some traffic enforcement that we are aware of may be an issue in a sector. Maybe continue writing a report, because that's one of the interesting things that I think sometimes gets lost. When that officer is handling a report, we start tracking theoretically from the moment it's marked that it's first dispatched. But that officer still has to get on scene. He has to interview witnesses, potentially victims. There may be an arrest involved, and then there's paperwork. Again, depending on the level of expertise and experience of that officer, that entire case could be 4 hours long, 5 hours, depending on how fast they type. And so for that period of time, that officer, we will triage, and because of what we do, we'll have to break and go out to handle other calls, but it then slows everything down. And so that's why it was sort of eye-opening for me. Like I said, I understand how many 911 calls we get. I used to respond when I was in patrol. Obviously, I don't do that in my current role, but to see that even as 8% of our total calls for service, the workload that that small amount creates occupies quite a bit of your officers' times.
So about this, I think after some time, I understand emergency call workload spreadsheets. I don't know what the meaning of 60% SI. I mean, I'm assuming that's an efficiency factor.
So that's, yeah, so the 60%, that's the saturation index. And so that, the saturation index has become sort of let's see here what I have. So I can kind of, it's, why 6%? It's research and police staffing and workload analysis showing that patrol officers should not be committed to calls 100% of the time. So in most staffing models, including those used by DCJS and others, they have come up with this formula that 60% committed time is the practical upper limit.
Yeah, no,
Right.
it's efficiency for
So it
the
becomes
for the
efficiency.
hours.
So that's going to leave 40% of the officers. Again, how people smarter than me came up with the 60 as a number, that's kind of.
I wouldn't just be, I'll just take that as a given. So if that's the case, and I go to the next slide, patrol staffing analysis. The current deployable staffing is under what you are saying the need is. Is there a way in which the scheduling can improve that, right? If I look at the staffing column, there's often, sort of
Correct.
understaffed
Correct.
windows and then overstaffed windows, so to speak. Can the valleys be and peaks be leveled out through scheduling, or is this?
No,
just through
I've looked
additional
at, yeah,
staffing?
no, it's a very good question. And I have looked at a whole bunch of different options as well. I mean, we are certainly locked in as far as a collective bargaining agreement that we have to have a minimum staffing of officers. And then within that footprint, it's how many officers that we have currently allotted to the police department. Makes it very difficult to change the staffing level. And then there's also with the Westchester County Police Act requires a police officer within the buildings, which is why we are kind of at the very bare minimum as far as the desk officer. We want to have that sergeant hopefully as often as possible on a shift. That is not necessarily always possible if that sergeant is off, but and then we fall down to the minimum 2 officers. So no, simply just changing schedules doesn't change that with the officers that we have allotted to the department. And again, at this point, I'm not making any recommendations about anything. It's just really, again, just something that I just want you to start thinking about so you can kind of understand what the police department is doing. But as of right now, no, I'm not making, please don't take this, there's making no recommendations right now. I really would like to see an independent study conducted by New York State. And then we'll come back and talk.
So what's the timeline on that again?
When I submitted my request in December of last year, they had said they had about a 1-year backlog. So I'm hoping that by December,
Mhm.
I'll hear something and we'll have something moving forward.
Right. Yeah, I think from here, it would be good for us between now and when budget season starts to be like, putting together ideas of based on this presentation, anything else we'd want to know from them and anything else, we can start having discussions on. Anything else we would want to invest in next year? Or any other questions we have, he could provide answers to between now and then.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about the data that you put up there as we also think forward and how to understand these averages. There was a huge 25 and 23 were pretty similar in terms of calls, and 24 was like almost 10% increase in calls. What do you ascribe to?
Yeah, not really sure why. I saw that too. And overall, I still feel like our numbers are relatively flat. We did have that weird spike of calls. We haven't really we haven't changed how we report. Just
Yeah,
one of
I'm just
those
curious
years that, yeah, no, it wasn't anything specific about that year that jumped out.
because if
that
that's like a
created
true
that.
outlier, then
Yeah.
that might change the analysis of how.
Yeah, no, I really believe that
staffing.
the, overall, our numbers themselves are pretty flat. I'm not seeing like any major changes, overall as far, it's just, even, I think I noticed even like this year, I have a rather large increase in aided calls. Not really sure why. Again, these are not officer initiated. These are calls coming into them, so we are responding. Again, I don't know why we saw sort of a little bit of a bump in that for this year. Again, those do occupy a lot of police officers' times that they are off the road, so to speak, while they handle that.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Chief.
everybody. Appreciate it.
You,
Do we have to do anything out of that out?
All right. We have a couple of appointments, require a vote. Is there a motion to consider a resolution appointing Francis Farrington III as a member of the nominating committee for a term of 1 year as recommended by the nominating committee? Deputy Mayor Galen, Trustee Gupta, all in favor? Thank you, Frank Farrington, for your volunteering. And is there a motion to consider a resolution appointing Megan Wells as a regular member of the library board for a term of 3 years as recommended by the nominating committee? Deputy Mayor Galen, Trustee Suma, all in favor? Thank you. And I have to do an oath of office. Is Megan here? Yay! Sorry to make you wait all this time. Now you'll appreciate the library board. Not allowed. This is gonna be terrible. We can't see it, but you can hear it. All right, please raise your right hand. Right, okay. Been a minute. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and to carry out the duties of regular member of the Dobbs Ferry Library Board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry to the best of your ability? Thank you so much for volunteering. Yay. Megan. Megan. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, this is.
Courtesy of the floor. Anyone would like to speak to anything? We have 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address. And we shall listen to you attentively.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor and trustees and everyone else that's here. Lenore Pearson, 22 Palisade Street. I'm here tonight to give you a report on Palisade Street, the south end of Palisade Street. The invasive trees have completely blocked the view of the Hudson, and we do look at the Jersey barriers with their lights and almost don't see it anymore. But why I'm here today is prompted by this parking ticket. I wanted to alert the board to the confusing and potentially dangerous parking situation on Palisade Street. It is a one-way street going up, and it's been like that, I don't know, a year or two. But people's habits are to park on the street going down like they always did when it was a two-way. I firmly believe that I should be parking on the street going up. And thank you for the prompt of knowing the village code. The village code of 290-17 about parallel parking says on one-way streets, a vehicle may be stopped within 12 inches of either curb if its front end is pointed in the direction of traffic. When people are parked going downhill, to rectify the situation, they do a 5-point turn to go back up, or they barrel down Palisade Street in the wrong direction. So, board, I don't know if this is in your jurisdiction, but I'm asking for clarity on this and signage so that there is not an accident.
Thank you very much. That is a very excellent point, and our village administrator will take a look at it.
Yeah, obviously, and the chief can confirm this, you have to park in the direction of travel. You can't park opposite on a one-way street. That's.
Well, there's confusion, and that my ticket is for parking with my tires on the left curb. So I parked going up, but most cars do park, you know, they're parking like it was 2022.
All right, we will look at that very
Thank you.
promptly. Thank you. Anybody else? Join us.
Hello, my name is Sal Sococho, and I live on Southfield Avenue. I don't know if everybody's aware, but we have a problem there. We have a big problem. The street cannot support all the traffic that is going through there. I mean, we got Dunkin' Donuts tractor trailers. We got box truck, refrigerated box trucks. We got, it's a mess. My car's been sideswiped, mirrors, scratches, my garage door, the glass on it. Something's got to be done. We need help over there. And it doesn't seem like anybody really cares about us all the way on that end of it, but we could use some help.
All right. Thank you for
Thank you.
bringing that to our attention. We will add it to the list.
Bob Radomski, Ogden Avenue. 2 issues. E-bikes, are we gonna have any regulations being considered about increased e-bike on our roads before something bad happens? Since they are motorized, shouldn't they Traffic rules apply? They don't stop for stop signs. They run right down the middle of the road. Shouldn't we have some sort of regulation or even think about some sort of regulations? Okay, and my main thing is the deer project. I hope we're not going to spend another $38,500. It does nothing for residential areas in the village damaged by deer. 19 deer were taken last year. That's $2,000 a deer. That's a lot of money. I don't know if any homeowner would pay $2,000 to get a deer taken off his property. 15 years ago, we had a wildlife committee that met in person once a month. We even had open informational meetings at Mercy College Auditorium on deer, coyotes, and even feral cats, with DEC personnel at these events to speak and answer questions. Not much was done by the Board of Trustees, and the committee was removed. Before we spend the amount of money taxpayers pay, 9 taxpayers would pay to the village, I think we should rethink removing deer from wooded areas and try to find areas, ways to deal with the problems in residential areas. That residents are more frustrated and angry, including me. Also, by removing deer from open woodlands, you remove a food source for coyotes. These coyotes are not small. Now that's going to have another place to have them hunt, which is going to come into more residential areas. I'm not against the cull. I had cull permits issued by the DEC for 27 years. I did a good job too. I just don't want to waste taxpayer money on something like this. That's not going to do anything. Please reconsider it and maybe stop spending taxpayer money on something that's not going to work. Thank you.
Thank you. On up.
Hello, my name is Kevin Legel. I live on 100 Cedar Street. I just want to say I've been watching these board meetings and it's really cool to be here and thank you for all you do and for spending hours doing this. So I'm really hungry. I'm gonna do the best I can.
What's the person?
I'm here to ask that you reconsider the proposed 99 Cedar Street affordable housing project. I first raised my concerns at the Rivertown Dispatch Forum in April and recently wrote about my concerns in the dispatch opinion section. My original concern was stormwater management. I live downhill at Village Green, where Cedar Street has zero public storm drainage infrastructure. The July 21st storm flooded the storage unit, laundry rooms, garages, and caused significant damage to our playground, which was just fixed today. This is not an isolated incident. Severe storms are becoming more frequent. My property line sits at the bottom of Village Green, and I have seen falling trees come very close to my property line. Adding a 38-unit building here requires serious scrutiny. Before construction, the village should address Cedar Street's drainage deficiencies and guarantee that stormwater and construction runoff will not create additional risk to the properties downstream, whether my community, HUDCO, or others. There are also questions about the site's history, being a former DPW site that burned down years ago. Before excavation, residents deserve assurance that the property has been thoroughly evaluated and that any remediations will protect surrounding residents, especially the children who play in the playground that the runoff goes to. I have spoke with downtown business owners, many of whom are concerned about losing a sizable portion of the parking lot. I was watching a board meeting from the 23rd and a gentleman from Ogden spoke about parking concerns. Parking is already limited and Cedar Street traffic can take multiple light cycles to clear during peak hours. Convenience matters to consumers more than ever, especially at times where economic headwinds make it hard to justify spending. Meanwhile, Dobbs Ferry is preparing for years of construction, including Route 9 and Ashford roundabout conversions, the 2 proposed affordable housing units on Cedar Street proper, the revitalization of the theater, and other infrastructure projects. We cannot ignore the cumulative impact of construction, reduced parking, and increased congestion to residents, businesses, and consumers. I support affordable housing. My objection is not to affordable housing, it's to this location. If the village is committed to this project, I ask you pause and address these concerns first. Sometimes the responsible answer is not no, but not yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. And just to be clear, we listened to all of these and we take them all very seriously. And this is just not the forum where we like respond and have dialogue about.
Understood.
So I just want everybody to know that because
Well, thank you for
it makes a
clarifying.
lot of us uncomfortable that we can't just talk about all these things right now.
Yes.
But we're supposed to, keep moving the meeting. So
Okay.
thank you for your,
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
everybody. Okay. Now we have a meeting.
Do you want to talk about the comp plan so Valerie can go home?
Sure.
Valerie.
All right. Hold on. Let me see this order.
Just trying to help you out, Miss Panostra.
Actually, we're just gonna go in order. We only have one before her.
Okay.
So item number one, is there a motion to consider a resolution establishing a pilot gym and fitness class membership reimbursement program for active volunteer firefighters? Deputy Mayor Galen, Trustee Gupta. So this was on our workshop for discussion. We didn't get to it, but we will discuss it now for whatever anyone wants to raise. This came about as a recommendation from the fire chiefs, spurred from, can't remember, a wellness program concept that is a way of us helping to encourage healthy and physical activity and wellness for our volunteers who, need to be fit and well to do this very vital service of fighting fires on behalf of the village residents. And so this is a way that we can reimburse them for up to $100 a month, I believe, for gym and fitness classes. And it's a pilot program, so we can give it a shot. We had budgeted for trying something like this out this year. And so we now have this identified and, written out here for how we can do that. So if anybody has any questions.
do.
Yes, go.
One thing that I want to see in this policy is also documentation of going to the gym. Because we all go to the gym in January and February, and then it all starts to tail off around March. So if there's like an attendance,
So, Joe Giuliano, Dobbs Fire Department, that was in the original one that I
Yeah.
sent over.
Okay.
Documentation was in there. I worked with Jeff and Rob at the time on that. So that was in there, like an attendance sheet of, members going, they'd have to submit that along with their receipt,
yeah, okay,
proof of going.
okay, great.
And, I just want to, thank the
Yeah.
board for, doing this pilot
Yeah.
program. I think it could be, a good thing, and it doesn't have to be a forever thing, Other firehouses have facilities in their firehouse, so that's our goal. So, for the time being, this will definitely, help
Yeah,
us satisfy that, requirement that we're supposed to have. So, but that is part of the reimbursement process, is providing proof of documentation.
yeah.
Yeah, can you remind us where this idea kind of came from? What I remember initially you were saying that this was a recommendation or requirement.
So
from one of your-
NFPA has
which-
a
can
health
you
and wellness
use the-
policy.
What
That's
is
the,
NF?
yeah, sorry, that's the National Fire Protection Association. They cover everything from, how long we could keep a fire truck to gear requirements to, firefighter physicals. And this falls into that category. We met 3 of the 4 under health and wellness besides having the actual program in place. And that could be satisfied, in multiple ways, whether it's an in-house facility or, bringing somebody in to do classes with members or members, going on their own. It's just, we have to have something on paper, and this will satisfy that requirement.
Thank you.
Trustee Gupta is in there.
Oh,
For
great.
documentation
Number
is,
5.
number
Number 5, it's
5,
in
they
there.
need to show 1, a receipt or invoice from the facility, and 2, a record generated or signed by that
There it is,
facility
yes.
showing the member's attendance during that month.
Okay.
I'm curious how that happens, but I guess.
Oh, no, you can get it. Yeah,
Do
because
like a printout of a.
you get a
like a scanned
printout.
Of
thing.
like the
Yeah.
dates you
Like
came
you have
in.
your, keep your fob or.
All right.
however
Yeah,
they
but it would
track.
be
Great.
like, yeah, I remember I had like an insurance, like health insurance thing where I had to go like 4 times.
Yeah.
I had to document that I went 4 times a month.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
so that's actually
covered
what, yeah,
in
there
there.
was like a minimum number of how many
Mm.
times, not just like show up once. So, but I'm all for it.
And I don't have a set number yet because I didn't roll it out to the membership yet because
Yeah.
we were waiting, to get approval. So,
I think, yeah.
we'll see how this year goes and take it from there.
And it'd also be helpful with like retention of volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good recruiting tool as well. We have a lot of younger members now, which is encouraging. So hopefully this helps incentivize them to, keep showing up and keep coming.
Anybody else? Great.
Thank you, guys.
We have to vote.
All in favor? We're good? Okay. Item 2, is there a motion to consider a resolution to schedule a public hearing for the purpose of receiving comment on the contents of the proposed village comprehensive plan? Trustee Asuma, trustee Patino.
Oh, she had to go that
I had to go that way.
way.
All right, this also was on our workshop, so we haven't talked about it yet. We have been working for a year and a half on a update to our comprehensive plan, which is currently the 2010 vision plan. And it began, why am I doing this? You're gonna do this, right?
No,
Valerie.
I mean, you're doing a
Valerie
great job.
Manasco is here. She has led this Herculean task. There's been a comprehensive plan steering committee consisting of representatives from all of our boards and committees.
Yes.
As well as the Board of Trustees and village staff, who have gone through all of the studies and data that we've done since 2010
That's correct.
to try and not duplicate efforts by completely redoing the comprehensive plan, but building upon what has already been done in all of these different ways to then put together this draft. And the process took a little bit of a pause as we did some New York Forward
Yes.
outreach, so as to not be too confusing to the public in terms of what kind of feedback we're trying to get on different things. So we are now back at this point with this draft that has gone through so many edits and is, I think, a great representation of what the majority of the people who have a very deep understanding of the village over time and how it can move forward. Anyway, that's my tee up. Now you can go.
Yeah, so I think tonight we're looking for 2 things. One, ideally, any other last remaining comments on the draft plan, and we'd like the board to schedule a public hearing September 8th. So that way we can actually start soliciting actual public feedback on the comprehensive plan itself. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, we also want to start a little bit on starting to pull together the list of potential zoning updates that would be after that would be developed after the comprehensive plan. But we want to start moving forward working on pulling together maybe a zoning committee. And I was going to suggest that maybe working with the mayor and trustee Patino, who have been liaisons throughout this process, identifying potential committee members along with the new village administrator, Michael Neppel, and come back to this board sometime in the next month or potential as a committee and just an overall proposal in terms of the types of zoning updates that we'd like to consider. That's it.
There was only one thing I wanted us to discuss in this last draft, and that is on page. The draft that we, as a board, received today, so it's not in the backup, but will be be posted online.
Yeah, so we have a whole, if you recall, you have a comprehensive plan website, so we'll post it on there, and we'll also work with the village administrator to publicize any public hearing that gets set tonight.
And just a reminder, the public hearing on the comp plan is at 6:30.
Right.
We do have some local laws on, hopefully at 7:30, but just for the
Right.
it's a little different, but it's important for the public to know they can come in at 6:30.
Right, and I'll give a presentation and we'll take public comment and then we'll do that again about a month later.
This one is really on the contents, and the public will have comments on changes in contents. And then once that is incorporated at the village board's decision, then a draft is prepared, and that one will be considered for adoption, subject to another public hearing. That's the law, village law, New York State Village Law 7-722.
So the only change that I wanted us to consider here is within the conceptual design section. So I'm on 59, but that's just the beginning of it. So if you recall, there's this whole section of drawings that the committee put together of ideas that are not in any way approved or adopted, but they're conceptual designs as it describes. And the ideas for the vast majority are outputs of this committee, you know, ideating like, oh, what if, you know, we had a connection between the waterfront park and 145 Palisade? And so there's things like that in here. What if there's solar panels over a parking lot? However, it also includes on page 65, the DOT proposed roundabout at Broadway and Ashford Avenue, which is just not like the others in that it is a design that was not ideated, like not conceived from the steering committee. It's just, and I think this was part of like in the beginning, everybody was trying to collate all the things and studies that have been put together over the time. But the way this is presented is that it's something that this steering committee came up with and is proposing as like a conceptual design. So I know Laura has, Trustee Rothrock has wanted this to be removed from this set of designs. And she's not here tonight. I wanted to raise this, not just on her behalf, but because I also feel like it's just not a conceptual design put together from the steering committee. And it just exists in a different space than this entire plan of ideas. It's not coming from the Dobbs Ferry, comprehensive plan steering committee. It's something the DOT was proposing. So.
And the New York State Village Law 7-722 does permit you to include plans, documents, reports from other agencies. So it's not against the
wrong to
law.
have
It's
it.
right. It's not
I
against
just feel
the
like it
law.
implies something that is not necessarily the case, and that is that this group of people in the comprehensive plan steering committee came up with this idea as a way to do something at Broadway because they didn't, like this was coming from the DOT. So I just wanted to hear anybody else's ideas on this and whether or not I can't recall here where it's also mentioned, but it is in the existing conditions doc, I imagine.
It is in the existing conditions.
Not in there if this is removed. It's just not gonna
Right.
be in the, like, this sort of implies that it has
The like approval or the.
some sort of support that that I feel like the other things do, that this is just, it just got batched in here as
Order plans.
something that has been considered. I don't know.
Well, I will say this, it is different in many ways because it's the only thing that wasn't born out of the desire by the board to look at these various components. But the concept behind this plan was to give people a visual representation of all of the things that come at us from various places. This kind of fits that criteria in some way, right? It doesn't come from one of our residents or boards or one of us. It comes from the state DOT, but I think in that way, it kind of fits the bill in a way, and that it is a tool for someone who hears like, oh, there's a roundabout, like, it is referenced here in a 2D plan, and I think that for that reason, it's kind of useful. But maybe I can go either way. I don't have a strong opinion, but it fits in
I
some.
think Trustee Rosenberg was also part of that committee, so unfortunately, he's not here either to weigh in on it. But this sort of came out of his involvement and
With the
administrator.
Route 9 steering
review
committee
movers,
through the
yeah,
state, the
Route
Department
9.
of Transportation. Department of Transportation. Does anybody else have thoughts on this?
I mean, I just think if, it's a great, flag. I think if it's, I'm not gonna die on the hill of including it or not including it, but I do think it should be maybe separated out or like put at either extreme of this list, so it doesn't.
I think it's there because it's the way you actually move through the map. If you look at
Right.
the larger map, you start off with 1, 2, 3 down by the waterfront, and then you
Yeah, I
start
mean, I understand why it's there. I agree that we're doing some nonverbal communication that we're not intending to do.
But it does say DOT proposed, it doesn't say village proposed or, anything like that. Like, I think it's pretty clear, and maybe there's some
Or
additional language.
Add a clause at least that says like this, like for further context for folks who are not as deeply familiar with it as we are, that Route 9 is a state-owned road, and like this concept came out of the state-run Route 9, whatever that study is called.
I mean, the other option, so the point of that section, number 11, is really to include other pedestrian improvements throughout the gateway area. So it's really about pedestrian improvements as opposed to specifically a roundabout. So what we could do is maybe instead of, maybe we could even just modify the title instead of DOT proposed roundabout. It could just be like pedestrian improvements, within the Broadway Ashford Avenue corridor. And then we can just put a caveat, like an example is like of that could be a roundabout as identified by the New York State DOT, like Route 9 study. I mean, we could also remove it as well, but I think that was really the point of it, is that there's additional traffic calming pedestrian accessibility in that area.
Trustee Asuma Gupta. You've got to opine, sorry. You have to have either you don't care one way or the other, which is also an opinion, and that's fine, but I feel like I think the issue is also that it implies support from all of this, like all of these entities for whatever these are, which is part of the reason there's exploratory design, conceptual, everything on here is trying to be like, none of this is pre-approved, none of this is in any way getting a green light because it's in the comp plan. But as we've seen, things that are written in the comp plan are then referenced later as like, see, the village wanted this.
Yeah.
It's in the comp plan.
That's
Even if it was like a concept or an idea or like something that wasn't necessarily
like, I mean, is there
able
a
to
way
be
to like
done.
have it another section that says ideas imposed on us by people outside of the
Well, it is,
village?
because it's going to be in.
I know, but like
the other-
actually title
It's
that
gonna be in
section
the appendix.
imposed on us.
But also like everything else, I think, for the most part on the concept drawings is owned by the village or under the jurisdiction
Well,
of
there's
the
a
village.
Trout Aqueduct. I mean,
Yeah, there's
so,
other,
but
yeah.
let's like play this out for a moment. Do you believe that there is a situation where the approval or denial of this roundabout at this location hinges on a tangential reference in the plan, which also clearly states that it's DOT proposed and not generally supported by the Board of Trustees?
No.
I think if you.
So
had
I
a
wonder if
lot-
we're just
I mean,
overthinking this.
ideally, we're just like, we're having this discussion here and it is clear that we are all not just automatically saying we support what they've designed for the major intersection in
No.
our village. It's designed and it's not our say, but, and expressing the fact that there are concerns about it is, it's really like, I just don't want this to set any precedent. But even if we've
I
said
know.
it this way right here now,
Yeah, but
then-
no one's gonna come back and watch this video. So I think like this thing needs to stand on its own in 10 years when this thing is cited, and in 20 years when this thing is cited and everyone hates the roundabout or whatever.
or they
So-
love it and they'll be like, look,
Or they love
had
it.
an
and they're like,
idea
great
with-"
job, 20 years ago board. But I just think at a minimum, it should have some more context about the study and the fact that why this is a, DOT proposed. Not
But
that
I get it. Perception is reality.
Yeah.
And if they see this,
Cause it just doesn't even have to be there is kind of
Right.
Laura's point,
And-
which was
and-
my point also. It's like, it doesn't have to be in this at all because it's actually the only thing that's not like the others. And so
We-
then we don't even have to worry about it because
We
it's gone.
can remove it, from the list.
I know.
And we'll just reorganize the numbers and
Just
the
act like
images.
11 is missing.
yeah.
Well, no, we'll just renumber everything.
I mean, it can also be, because it's not as explicit as it could be, but the point 11 is that this, if this occurs, we would have extensive pedestrian friendly components to it. So like the additional crosswalk, like I don't know what the DOT plan looks like, but am I understanding the language, like the sub?
Yes, I mean, the DOT, there is an image of like the
Non-
DOT concept in there. And it does include additional crosswalks, right? And I think that's really, that bullet, I think is the key part, which is include other pedestrian improvements throughout the gateway area. That's all really the idea is. It's not necessarily advocating for or against the roundabout.
It's also implying that the roundabout is a
It
overall
typically is,
pedestrian
right?
improvement
Typically
to the gateway.
roundabouts are, more pedestrian friendly. But that being said, that doesn't necessarily mean that, you have to have, like, there's ultimately has to be a roundabout there. It's just an example of,
All right.
pedestrian
well,
improvements.
We either move it or we don't move it. I would rather just move it, remove it and not have it be there because it's somewhere else and it's not like the others. Gupta, what would you like to do?
I want to disown it so bad. Yes, remove it.
Remove.
Leave.
Remove it.
All right.
okay.
So let's remove it. And then everything else in it is ready to go to the public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you so
And
much,
so-
Valerie.
Thank you, Valerie, for everything.
You're welcome. Thank you for, I think it's great. I just want to highlight how much work this board has put into this. And it's been, no, but it really is a good process and it really does reflect not only like right now, like your committees and the public the public feedback we received so far, but also this board as well. So I think it'll be, looking forward to the public hearing and moving it on to the next steps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next step.
Yeah,
was
you can take a vote.
I know, right, we opened it. Is there, all in favor of scheduling the public hearing as, oh wait, I should
On
say
the
it.
comprehensive plan as revised.
Set the, hold on. We want to schedule the public hearing on September 8th, 2026 at 6:30 PM. Not the regular meeting time of 7:30 here in the village board room for the comprehensive plan first draft. Or everybody all in favor? Losing it. Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Valerie.
you.
Number 3. Is there a motion to consider a resolution to schedule a public hearing on September 8th, 2026 for consideration of a local law to add a vacant storefront registry to the village code?
And that's actually a typo.
Just a
It's just
storefront registry to the village code. Deputy Mayor Galen, trustee Asuma. The resolution is back in our workshop notes because we were also going to discuss this there. I believe they've addressed all of the discussions that we had. You want to talk about it? Go. No?
I can talk, but I also have notes, sorry to
Okay.
say. So this is an effort to reduce, especially, well, it's an effort to increase the, safety and vitality within downtown or within the commercial districts of Dobbs Ferry. By first and foremost, making sure we have contact info for all of the commercial storefronts so that if there are any issues, the building department, the fire department, others have a way of reaching whoever's responsible for it. Secondarily, to reduce the length and frequency and of vacancies within our commercial districts by providing kind of pathways for building owners to help get their commercial storefronts turned over into the next use, rehabilitated and relet, demolished, or if absolutely necessary, left for relative or slightly longer term vacancies if it absolutely cannot be helped. So that was sort of the origin of this. This is an increasingly popular approach that we've seen municipalities around the county and elsewhere take to, again, do the missions that we said above. So we're excited to get this out in front of the public. We think it's an approach that takes both a carrot, uses carrots and sticks. So the point is not to penalize anyone. The point is to help everyone do the thing that is best in service of the community of Dobbs Ferry. Again, by increasing communication, it lets the village communicate better with business and building owners, and it helps create safer, more sanitary conditions for everyone who uses the commercial districts, and it reduces vacancies, which has longer term economic development benefits to the village.
Great.
I have
So what
notes.
issues did you have with it?
Okay, Lori Lee, I'm sorry to say I have some further notes on this, which I think, I don't know why, but I don't know if this will hopefully not put a wrench in the whole sitch here as far as getting it over to a public hearing, but I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Storefront registration fee, this is page 36 of 51 in the PDF itself. A1, last sentence, renewal registrations, if any, shall be accompanied by a registration fee. Why do the renewals have to be subject to a fee?
That was a note that came to me, I think, from your meeting. Mike had sent me notes from your meeting.
Mike, why did we have, why are
Initial
renewals?
one you wanted to forgive, but the renewals.
What does that indicate? The renewal meaning like it's just lasted too long, or what's the renewal for? Like,
The renewal fee is aimed at cost recovery for administering the program for village staff.
Yeah, it's the minimal part of it. The plan is the more meaty part of it. So
but I think what we discussed is not charging people to register. We do not want to charge people to register, and we don't want to charge people to keep their registration current. So why would we add a?
There is in this proposed draft, no initial fee required, because we do want people to come into the program with zero friction entry. But as the program is administered, there is a resource drag on staff, and there is an effort to engage in some cost recovery and resource sharing.
I mean, I think just getting into the registry is like almost, not to at all discredit the like time and effort it will take for the building department, but like literally just renewing your registration should be like eventually it'll be online, they'll submit it, that's it. Like, I don't, again, I think we wanna, this should be zero friction as well, I believe, unless, you know, if, again, like, I think the model is compliance costs you nothing. Not complying has increasing penalties and fines associated with non-compliance. So I think like we're adding this relatively small burden on building owners, which is registering, which we think is to the benefit of everyone, including business owners and building owners. But I would suggest, and I'm sorry, I missed that when you sent it. I would take out the renewal register, like, if we decide that it's such a burden that like we need to add that in, let's do that in 5 years when it becomes.
Yeah, I would want
Such a
proof
burden.
that it's a burden enough that it requires a registration fee, because this is now, it's not, it's for both the property owner and a business.
That's for the property owner.
This is
but-
just the property
but
owner?
still,
Yeah.
like, I think
Mhm.
I would take that
No,
that
it's
last
just
sentence
something that
out.
we want them to do, and the fact that they're doing it is like.
Yeah, it's
work
not a
for
permit
them.
to do
I
work.
wouldn't
It's
want
not,
them to
yeah,
then avoid it because there's a fee.
yeah,
Like, it's just giving them more reason to not
yeah.
be willing to participate or to fight it. So I would hope that we could figure out a way to make it work without a
Yes.
fee.
So if we can take out that last sentence, and I can summarize all this, and I don't know, you can tell me if this
Get
is.
you better software that does things faster.
I mean, we can design a program within the bounds of the law in any way that the board wants to design that program. So
I appreciate your attempt at trying to recoup work that we're adding to the village staff.
I think that
We
was
will
the-
try and recoup that in other ways.
And I think the intent is to be minimal, like any application that you would submit would have a $25 application fee or.
Right, but I think yeah,
The real fees are associated with the escrow deposits and on the vacant storefront plan.
Yeah.
So that was the sort of intent. This was gonna be the minimal.
you know, I think we have discussed previously that we want to look at all of those kind of minimal application fees with regards to the building department and make sure that they're aligned with our policy priorities. So I would very
Yeah, you
hesitant
mean
to
aligned
add
with the amount of staff time it takes to.
and our policy priorities. So I think I would be very hesitant to add another one. So we can strike that, that would be my vote. Vacant storefront plan review
I'm
fee.
sorry, just wait, where am I? Because I have to do this and send it to Liz because she's gonna have to make.
So strike the final sentence on page 36. Point A, storefront registration fee, the final sentence, renewal registrations, if any, shall be accompanied by a registration fee.
Last, got it.
Strike that
Thank you.
sentence. Okay, vacant storefront plan review fee, which is on the next page. The submission of a proposed vacant storefront plan must be accompanied by a fee in an amount established amended. That's just, no, we're not charging them a fee to submit a storefront review fee in the same way that we're not doing the previous thing. We want to, I think what we discussed.
This is more time. This was the one where you were going to try to recoup to cover the cost because of the amount of review and inspection, and so you were hoping.
So the storefront plan review might be, we plan to relet our thing, and here's our picture, like the same way we don't, like, again, I think the teeth here need to be on the fines for non-compliance, not charging someone to come into compliance. And if we decide subsequently that we want to, you know, recoup some of this, great. And I don't, again, sorry, I don't know how I missed that was conveyed. We are making it hard enough to be in compliance by now you have to submit us up this plan, which I just know is going to feel like an onerous addition, which whether or not it is.
We can change must to may. And then
May,
you have
great.
the right to do it in the future.
Bingo.
Okay,
Awesome.
got it.
Next. Okay. Okay, so so the biggest thing is that, on page 39, 261-11B, so if we want to make the penalties around noncompliance be where there's teeth and where there are fines, we haven't defined violations in some of, so there's four, this is for everyone, there's four things that can happen to a vacant storefront. You can plan to relet it, you can plan to rehabilitate it and then relet it, you can plan to demolish it, and you can plan for an extended vacancy due to something that you cannot control, like it's tied up in court or something. So the problem that I identified here is there's not there are, in some of those four, there are not actual violations defined. So I'm not sure how we're going to charge these fines if we haven't defined the violation. For example, in the rehabilitation scenario, we haven't defined, if you don't complete the rehabilitation by X, then that is day one of the violation. In the temporary extended vacancy timeline, if you have not resolved the court issue by X and resubmitted information about why it has not been resolved, then that's day one of that violation.
Let me stop real fast.
But
That we're not gonna do now.
That's implied in the fact that you have the chance you have the chance to issue a violation for any,
Right, but those aren't defined violations.
but I don't think they have to be defined. I think if they miss a registration or if they
But
miss
there's
a
no
deadline,
deadlines, there's no registrations. Like, you need to submit a plan, you need to submit a letter saying why you can't immediately cure this vacancy.
Right.
And therefore, if you submit the plan, but having submitted the plan, there's no mechanism for us to ensure that they do something after submitting the plan, then there's no violation that we can issue. So that feels like a meteor.
So is the question,
I don't understand.
That-
I guess you have the option.
I'm just
to
curious, is this a thing that can be defined later? Or does this need to be defined here?
I still
what
don't,
you're
I
saying.
still don't understand. You have the ability for each violation, any provision, if you violate any provision. So if you miss a deadline that you state in a plan, that's a violation. If you miss, so I don't.
But if
the
there isn't
violations
a
can be defined elsewhere?
but if the violation isn't defined, then how do we, okay, so for example, go to, okay, go to page, please, 34, number 4, if the building is to be demolished. Date for completion of demolition, which must not exceed 180 days from submission of vacant storefront plan, and statement of post-demolition plans and timeline. Now, if someone, right, so they've submitted their plans, but if they don't go through with it,
It's violation.
when does it become a violation? After 180 days, it's not
Yeah.
a violation? And if they submit a statement for post-demolition plans, but there's no timeline associated with implementing the post-demolition plans, how do we know when that violation starts?
So the detail in the plan, in order for the plan to be approved, it's my understanding that that's the meat of where the staff is going to be working the hardest, because they are going to have the detail in the plan, and any violation of that plan then would be subject to this. So if we need to put clarifying language.
So the question is, do we
for the
need to do
building
that?
So my
inspector.
question is, is this going to be sufficient for us to move forward right now?
No.
Okay.
Not if the board's consensus is that this is a problem. So, and then we need to fuss again at a work session to change.
I think it's a question for you of whether we have the ability to charge violations based on the language that's in here now. And if you do, then I think we can proceed. And if we need to detail what the violations are, because we can't just leave it, the staff doesn't have enough information to charge it as a violation if there's no timeline associated with non-compliant, like submitting a post-demo plan has no timeline associated with executing a post-demo plan. So that's a question for you, I think, Lori Lee.
Well, instantaneously, no, I can't do that here. So I would suggest you table this and we take another stab at it, because it's not, if it's not clear to Deputy Mayor, obviously it won't be clear to the building inspection and
I mean, that may not be true.
so we should then take more notes.
Okay.
This is
I
all
will
based
send
on
you-
notes. Again, I have no pride of authorship of this because I didn't draft,
No, it's not
I
pride of
just-
authorship. It's just we're asking for your legal counsel in whether or not it provides what we needed to provide. And if the answer is, we've identified a
because you're
gap.
raising this instantaneously, so I'd like to be able to have a chance to look at it and talk with you further about where we can pad it to have that level of assurance that you're looking for.
All right, then we're tabling it. Moving on. Where are we on 5? Great. 4. Is there a motion to consider a resolution to schedule a public hearing on September 8th, 2026 for consideration of a local law to establish and clarify the obligations of public utilities in connection with utility poles in the village of Dobbs Ferry? Deputy Mayor Galen, Trustee Asuma. This is about double poles and our efforts at not having them, or not letting them happen in the future. When a utility company puts a pole behind another pole to connect wires and they don't take out the original pole, they just leave it there. And
this includes a legal memo, which I researched based upon the questions raised by Trustee Rosenberg at our work session.
and all of us.
And that the bottom line is that it cannot be based merely on aesthetics alone.
Mhm.
It has to be based on a public safety issue. There may be a way to add a sundown, and there was a case that was remanded. We don't have the results of that case. So the only caveat being, if in the future you wanted to focus solely on the aesthetics, we can look, because there was a case that was reversed with a 6.5-year amortization period. So I'd like to be able to find out what courts have accepted as an acceptable amortization period if 6.5 years wasn't enough.
Okay.
Does this include what we were all concerned about, which is the retroactive?
The retroactive you can do based upon public safety. So you have to you can,
Sorry, I can't remember.
yeah, you can look at it retroactively, but if you were to require it to be removed, it must be based on a public safety issue.
Okay.
Which
All right.
disability falls into that category.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
So the public hearing would be September 8th, right? September 8th also?
At 7:30.
7:30, regular.
Because you'll
meeting
have
time, 'cause
one at
comp plan
6:30
is
and now one at 7:30.
All right, all in favor of scheduling the public hearing? Okay, thank you.
Big meeting.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
The 6:30 public hearing, is that being held during the workshop or?
Isn't-
Okay. Okay, I didn't know if you were changing the time of the regular meeting, so.
No.
All right, thanks.
All right, number 5. They're gonna get easier, I swear. Is there a resolution, or is there a motion to consider a resolution to append the approved locations for EV charging stations? Deputy Mayor Galen, Trustee Gupta, this is revising the installation plan to include 22 charging stations at the waterfront parking lot, 10 at the Village Hall parking lot, and removing the 2 charging stations on Cedar Street. Based on a recommendation from the county planning board. Yeah. Anyone remember what that was from?
Yeah, well, some of them, yeah, I think it was.
The street
That-
side parking, the recommendation is to
Yes,
have them
they
in
d-
lots. not
Yes,
on
they did not
streets.
want us to put them on streets.
So that's what this is. All in favor? Okay. Is there a motion to consider a resolution establishing the fee for use of village installed electric vehicle charging stations? Trustee Gupta, Deputy Mayor Galen. The proposed fee is 35 cents per kilowatt hour. And we would not have an overstay fee, which is the fee that if you leave your car there and it's plugged in, but you're not charging anymore, there's an option to add a fee, which is intended to get turnover in the parking spots. But since they're not solely dedicated for EV charging station, we are not concerned with the turnover. And because they're probably going to be people who park there to commute, and 22 of the spots at the waterfront station, we are opining that no charge would be for overstay. And the 35 cents per kilowatt hour is based on what we anticipate it costing the village to pay for the electricity, and also what all of our neighbors are doing for the exact same reason. So is there all in favor? All in favor? That's everyone. Thank you. Is there a motion to consider a resolution allocating the $3,000 Rivertown's Earth Month scavenger hunt prize? Oh, you've been waiting this whole.
Yes.
Hi.
He's still smiling.
Yeah. He said it's a warm.
Trustee Asuma,
It's like watching cheese grow, right?
Deputy Mayor Galen.
Mini forest. I think
So-
we should have another meeting about that.
Yeah. Tell us again what a mini forest
So what is a
is.
mini forest?
No, just kidding, don't.
We're good.
We're good.
We know how to
We are
do that.
excited for the mini forest. We are excited to reimburse the Friends of the Waterfront Park for the renovation they did at the 9/11 Memorial already during the time period when we started the scavenger hunt and are in this meeting right now. So we won $3,000 by having a very aggressive bunch of teams from Dobbs Ferry compete in this eco educational scavenger hunt. This is $3,000. This is describing how we are allocating the funds, and it is to help fund a mini forest in Chauncey Park and, as I just said, Waterfront Park. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. And Mike will help you about all the details as you guys have discussed via email. No, yeah, big giant check. Is there a motion to consider a resolution authorizing the grant application to the Resilient Investments through Support and Capital RISE Infrastructure Program for Walgrove Avenue drainage improvements? Trustee Gupta, Trustee Asuma, we have actually sent this over already, and the only edit I would say, if it matters, is that in the resolved, it says authorize the village manager, but he's the village administrator. So maybe we should change that. But beyond that, this is an application that we put in to do stormwater improvements along Walgrove Avenue. It's not clear. And everybody cross your fingers. All in favor? Thank you. Let's keep plowing through. Is there a motion to consider a resolution to expand the deer management program to include the village woodlands located on the campus of the Master's School for the 2026 bow hunting season? Trustee Asuma, Trustee Patino. This is allowing the bow hunter that we have been already working with to expand his coverage area to the forest area by Masters, which they would like him to do. And we are the ones in charge of deciding where he's allowed to cull. And this
At
is
no additional charge.
at no additional charge. It's just part of what he's gonna be doing, but it's just another location. So, all in favor? Thank you. Phew. Is there a motion to consider a resolution authorizing the renewal of the village's copy machine lease and service
Yes.
contract? Trustee Gupta, Deputy Mayor Galen, all in favor?
I'm very
All right,
enthusiastic
good job, everyone.
about that.
Copy away, everyone.
Oh, this one. Is there a motion to consider a resolution ratifying and approving the 2024-2029 memorandum of agreement with the Dobbs Ferry Police Association? Trustee Asuma, Trustee Gupta, we thank everyone in the police department and village staff for working so swiftly and well on this agreement. And I'm pleased to ask if all are in favor. Okay. Thank you for your service. Is there a
By the way, I
motion?
just want to point out, this is the least backup we've ever received for a resolution.
No, because it's actually something, so we've received less with nothing. But you've seen it in the contract negotiations.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah. Mhm.
very little.
Is there a motion to consider a resolution approving a request from Megan Wells, who was just here, 23 Sherman Avenue, for a street closure for the purpose of a block party on September 26th, 2026, between the hours of 3:30 PM and 8:30 PM, with a rain date of Sunday, September 27th, 2026, between the hours of 3:30 PM and 8:30 PM. Trustee Asuma, Trustee Gupta, all in favor? Yay, party. See you there. Is there a motion? Is there a motion to consider a resolution? Don't leave now. This is the best one. Is there a motion to consider a resolution accepting a donation of a Nintendo Switch from Dr. Nitin Gupta for use by the Recreation Department?
You have to recuse.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a copy.
I have to recuse myself.
Do we have a quorum?
Oh, Deputy Mayor Galen,
I don't know if that's a good idea.
Trustee Asuma, all in favor? That's 4 with Trustee Nitin
Thank you.
Gupta.
It's on
recusing
record, I have
himself.
recused.
That's really not, does it work?
No new business, no
It does.
announcements.
Yes, of course it works.
Is there a move to adjourn this meeting?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Galen, Trustee Asuma, all in favor? Peace. I'm sorry. We can't, the planning board needs to do